Hi, I'm here to talk about the SAVE program. Our family has worked with Dr. Neubrander since 2009, so it's been about 6 years, and our son is currently 9 years old. And we've been following Dr. Neubrander's protocols from the very beginning, and our son has been a mild responder to HBOT, to B12. He has responded, and all of the other supplements, so we've been very grateful to work with him. We just did SAVE, and we would have to say as a family, this is one of the programs that our son has responded so well to. He is, from a social standpoint, he's not very conversational. However, he's able to tell us his wants and needs, what his dislikes are, but to sit and talk about maybe a baseball game or something that's going on, a movie that he really likes, he may not talk about it in detail. However, with SAVE, he has increased and has progressed in so many areas, and I will talk about that a little bit. I have some notes because he has had such progress that I've broken them down, so just bear with me because I do like to share that with all of you. From a family, overall, sensory, he's been able to self-regulate himself better. He's more patient with himself. He's able to sort of talk himself in a situation that maybe he's uncomfortable, and I'll give a few examples so that makes a little bit more sense. Eye contact has been much better. He works with 2 aides, one-to-one, basically because of his focus, and he has new programs in school, so they're spending a lot of time to sort of an intensive academic, just so he's able to keep up pace with the peers in his class. They've said his eye contact has been much better. There's a lot of back and forth, almost joking with him. And then I'm also going to break it down, as I mentioned, family, school, and sensory. So I'll start with some examples just to give you an idea how we feel SAVE has contributed to his success. From a family standpoint, he recalls his day much better. We go around the dinner table, we're a family of 5, and we talk about our day. And when it's our son's time, he actually recalls more details and contributes more to the conversation. It may be very basic, but we're not just pulling details out of him. He will tell us, this is what he did, this is who he ate with, and this is what he did at recess, which we think is great. This is actually a funny point, which I think is typical and it's great. He actually is standing up to himself more with his siblings, just because in the past he just used to be quiet and be on the sidelines. But now there's a lot of arguing because our son is standing up for himself. If he doesn't like something, he'll say, give me that back, don't touch my Legos. So I think that's great. It's just typical sibling behavior, which we think is great, and our other children are trying to get used to his new personality. This was a huge example for us as well. We had a gathering at a cousin's house, and typically when we all go, our son sort of sits to the side. We're all in the same room, but he's off to the side, and then everybody else is laughing, playing, running around, and it's almost as if he's on the outside looking in. After SAVE, we were again at our cousin's house, and they had an Xbox or a video game. This was after the 30-day protocol, obviously, because of no technology. But as the older cousins were playing with the Xbox, he actually participated and sat in and asked if they could teach him how to play. He actually sat in the circle versus outside looking in. He was actually inside the circle, if you want to call it that. So we thought that was huge. In the past, he just kind of went along with what we said we needed to do. We're going here, we're going there. Now, I notice our pattern is we're asking him more because he is speaking up more in terms of what he'd like to do. We'll ask his opinion. Do you want to eat lunch now, or do you think you want lunch later? Where before it was we kind of dictated the day, so now he's giving us his opinion. He's been a very sweet, compassionate boy, but now his actions are showing it. He has a younger brother who wasn't feeling well, just had a little bit of a cold, and one afternoon I saw that my son went and got a blanket for him, and his younger brother had a little runny nose, so he went and got a tissue. He's never really done that before. In the past, he would just look at him and just really not even say anything, but we thought that was huge. He is initiating more play too with his siblings. He may look at recess in the playground. He may not understand all of the games, like flag football and things of that sort, but he is actually looking to see, who's available to play, where in the past he would just like to sit in the swings and not really seek others. Again, from a conversational standpoint, as I said, he's not going to be able to talk about the baseball game in detail, but he is now looking. It's almost there's more of an awareness for him. And just back to the sibling thing, when I said he was arguing typically, which siblings would, again, he'll say, "Don't touch my Legos, those are mine." So it's nice that he's actually just differentiating himself and making sure that he is also seen and respected as an individual overall. From a school standpoint, they've been telling me that he has been asking abstract questions, which he never has. They're basic, but he'll ask them. I guess they were talking about, I'm not sure how the conversation came up, but it was about angels, and he actually asked, what is an angel? Because it's not something you can actually see, so I thought that was a great example from an abstract. He actually had told us his favorite subject is math. We know he does better in math, but he actually told us, which I think was great. He recalls his facts more too overall based on what he's learning. His aides have said that he needs less prompting. In the past, typically for an hour teaching time, his aide would say that he would need, it was a lot, about 50 to 60 prompts. Now the prompts are much less. We would say about 25 to 30, and even less than that. I think that's still pretty high. But they say his focus has gone much, much better. And we also see it too when he's doing his homework. He does spelling. I'll tell my son, please sit down to do homework. In the past, I would have to say it a few times before he'd get to sit down, and now I'll say it once or twice. And he's right at the table doing his homework, and his focus is right on finishing it. And he does take a lot of supplements as well through Dr. Neubrander, and that was another thing that we used to struggle with was, please take your supplements, and it would take a while to get him to the table to do it, but now he'll sit and he's done in less than 5 minutes. As I said, focus is better, he's learning the material, and he's asking relevant questions that actually relate to the material. And then one day when I picked him up from school, I thought this was great. I asked him how his day was, and typically he'll say, good, but he actually told me, Mommy, I'm so proud of myself because I worked really hard today, and I almost fell to the floor. So I thought that was great. It's just there's sort of an awareness, there's sort of a balance, almost a little centered with him. All his teachers that work with him say his focus is better, and if things are hard or he's not getting it versus getting frustrated at the teacher or frustrated with himself or not being as compliant in doing the work, he will say, this is hard for me, help me. So I think the communication from that standpoint is excellent. And then finally, sensory, which is huge. Again, as I mentioned, he's more centered, more balanced. One thing we noticed right away is his stimming is gone. It's completely gone. He used to come home from school and used to have a long snake, a stuffed animal that was really, I guess plush if you want to call it, really thick, and he would put it around his neck, and then he sort of just kind of run around the house a little bit or jump on a trampoline. He no longer does that. That is huge. His stimming is gone. When he was uncomfortable or not happy about a situation in the past, he would actually put pressure under his chin, and I'm assuming that's what made him feel better based on learning why he does what he does. That is completely gone. If he's not happy or he doesn't agree with something, he doesn't do that, which I think is huge. That was the first thing, is he would just put pressure on his chin. That's completely gone. One example that actually happened the week of SAVE while we were here was as we were finishing up, he had a small Lego with him and it fell to the floor. Initially, in the past, he would say, oh, come on, and he would get sort of very irritated and very just frustrated with himself. And when the Lego fell, he actually said, that's okay, we'll pick it up and fix it. And that was actually the week of SAVE. So that really, really surprised me. He's more patient. He doesn't get as agitated with himself. He's calmer. He seems to almost talk to himself if something is there that he's not happy about. He'll say, it's okay, I can do this. And again, as I mentioned, focus is better. Eye contact is much better, even if, let's say, he's talking to myself or to my husband and we just happen to look at our iPhone, he will tell us, look at me when I'm talking to you, so I think that's great. And then one thing that was very, very huge for us, and in talking to Maria here at Advanced Therapy, we noticed in the past before SAVE, I always felt that when my son's eyes were a bluish green color, I felt that he was more present and more aware with us. And when he had, I guess, an off day, if you want to call it, where he wasn't as aware or as present, his eyes almost looked like a slate blue. And in talking to Maria, she pointed out, which was a huge, huge eye-opener for us, it's all about the pupil dilation. His pupils were always larger than usual, regardless of if we were indoor or outdoor. And now that his pupils have come to the typical, I guess, size, indoor, outdoor, we can actually see, I can see clearly his eyes are bluish green and he's more present. That was something that was huge, and I couldn't explain why in the past why the colors meant one day he'd have a good day, one day he didn't. And again, after talking to Maria, it makes a lot of sense that it's the pupil, and his pupils have been just where they should be. I see him more that bluish green color, and I feel that he's more present with us. So that's been huge. And I also sort of check his eyes to see, not necessarily have a good day, but just check, and it's been pretty consistent since SAVE. They have not gotten fully dilated or anything like that. They've stayed consistent since we've done with SAVE. Other than that, I think one more thing from a sensory standpoint, he's always said, I'm happy or I'm sad if he's feeling a certain emotion, but I think he's expressing a little bit more, which is great. Again, he's come a long way. He still has more work to do. We're still going to continue to work with Dr. Neubrander, but we can say that SAVE has definitely helped us jump to that next level. He's always responded to the other things, I would say more mildly, where SAVE, I think there was a huge jump for him, and we're very grateful for that. And just some questions that I think would be helpful for those that are doing the program, just some ideas. The 30-day protocol was not bad at all. He didn't even ask for his iPad. He didn't really care for it. He actually got more creative. And again, that's where the initiating the play came. He would draw more. He would maybe want to maybe learn how to play basketball. And I'm trying to think, one thing also, sorry for keep going back and forth, it's just we've had a lot of good feedback, is that his handwriting is much better. He didn't really finish the letters. An E wouldn't be a complete E. Now he writes typical, just as his peers would. And his OT at school gave me a great example as well, just to throw in from a sensory standpoint. He actually was taking too long to finish a task that she requested, and there was 5 minutes left, and the OT said to my son, if you don't finish this task, I can't give you the sticker. And I have a good relationship with the OT, and the OT was concerned that she didn't think she could give him the sticker because there was only 5 minutes left. And she kept reminding him, and in the last 5 minutes, she said she's never seen his focus the way he did in those last 5 minutes, and he finished the task, which would typically take a lot longer. So she thought that was huge. I didn't mention to any of the teachers or any of the aides that we were doing this program or the school, just because I wanted them not to focus on the program, but to focus more on our son's progress. And other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I think I gave a lot of examples. And we did talk to Maria and Joe at Advanced Therapy, and they have some good feedback as well, and we will continue to work with Dr. Neubrander. And again, this is just something that really has given our son the next step, and we're looking forward to seeing how he progresses over the next couple of months, and just continue to keep track. And we're very hopeful. The next step really is for him to be more conversational, and to be more initiating play with peers his age. So I know it's one step at a time, but definitely this was a huge leap for our family, and we're very grateful. Thank you very much.